Spanning the nerdosphere, talking about everything you want to hear. From comics to cosplay, from the cinematic universe to fan films and everything in between. It's time to get down and nerdy. Here are your hosts, James Witham and Nick Battaglia.
It's our 21st episode of Down and Nerdy, and when we get drunk, it's on our love for Stan Lee.
Oh, that, and, when I turned 21, I actually partied a little bit differently. I didn't really get drunk or drink. I actually injected, or mainlined, really, Venom, like Bane style, but it never really worked out the way I hoped it did, because it ended up being rattlesnake venom. And now my balls sound like a pair of maracas whenever I walk.
And that is why you could never be a spy. I'm James Witham alongside
Nick Battaglia.
And, of course, 21 episodes. And we are, speaking of balls, we're balls deep in San Diego.
We are balls deep.
There's so much going on. And as there should be, really. I mean, it's San Diego Comicon. You said it before we went on the air. It's our Super Bowl. And it's nerd culture's Super Bowl.
It's nerd culture Super Bowl. This is what San Diego Comic-Con is to us nerds. It is like Media Day. It's pretty much, if you take the NFL Super Bowl Media Day and just made it like 5 days long.
Yeah.
That's what Comic-Con is to us.
I've kind of been describing it as a dog that sees a squirrel for 4 days straight. Because you are not going to get a nerd's attention during Comic-Con week. No. It's just not going to happen.
No, it won't. It just can't. I mean, the greatest, best thing to come out on Netflix, and you're still glued to Comic-Con coverage.
Oh, absolutely. I wish that... You know what? And I'm going to go on a rant just for a second before we talk about what we did over the weekend.
Rant away.
I don't understand why a network like Spike TV or Sci-Fi Channel is not live streaming at Comic-Con. Maybe not all day, but at least, starting in the afternoon, like, say, noonish, 1 o'clock, when things really start to get rolling, like G4 used to do.
Yeah.
Why are you not doing... I'm going to tell you right now, we're recording this on Thursday afternoon. I'm going to tell you what was on Thursday afternoon on those channels.
Okay.
Sci-Fi Channel was running the movie The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Right before I came over here.
Well, I mean, that is an instant classic, though.
Oh,
James.
Of course, yes.
I mean, it is a great piece of
no,
masterpiece
get
theater.
Down! No. So they were running that, and then Spike TV was running something that they never have on, Bar Rescue. So, I mean,
I love how Spike TV back in the day was the ultimate man channel. It was literally Spike TV back in the day. For people who don't know, it used to be TNN. Then it went to Spike.
Yeah, exactly.
And TNN, the reason why I know it is because I used to be a big wrestling fan growing up.
So
Raw was, you always had Monday Night Raw on TNN, and you had SmackDown on UPN, which is now CW. And now it's Spike. And Spike, when Spike first came out, there was a lot of male programming. You had stuff like Mansers.
I mean, there's still some of that,
but I mean, it was supposed to be our Lifetime channel. And
yeah, kind of, yeah.
and it's Bar Rescue, really? That's the best you can do? I'm not asking.
And that's all they run, that and
Spike
Cops.
TV, and I mean, Spike TV, they had, Ripley's Believe It or Not on there, I believe, which was awesome. But, when something like G4 goes down, when it's no more, if I'm running a station, we got, the nerd market is such a huge fucking market.
Especially now. We talked about this at great length in our other episodes.
Yeah.
Now is the time to strike when the iron's hot. So to run that, and I mean, I know IGN's doing their stream, and they've been doing a good job of covering things. I just wish it was longer. I want to be... When I was watching E3...
Oh, God.
And the presentations that were being done there, and you could stream those. They actually had them on Spike TV. Where in the blue hell is my stream of Hall H's presentation for Marvel, for DC? I know they haven't happened yet. But, stuff like that. Why is that not on TV?
And I understand that the main reason could be for people saying, well, there's a lot more going on at SDCC than... E3, and that is true. I mean, it comes down to
But G4 did it fine.
But G4 did it fine.
And they were a smaller network than Spike TV, and especially Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
And with the Will Wheaton project coming out and being as popular as
That's
it
the thing,
is.
too. You would think because Sci-Fi has something like the Will Wheaton project, which is fucking hilarious,
awesome.
by the way.
It's great.
Oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever for nerds. And when you have something like that, you think, well, how can we capitalize on this? San Diego Comic-Con. Hey, let's send Will to San Diego Comic-Con.
And I know they're going to cover it. I know they're going to cover it on their show on Tuesday, which is their regular night. But, I mean, you do it live, man. I mean, you want ratings? You want to sell advertising? You want to make money? Come on, man. Pick up the ball and let's do this.
You want to make more horrible 3D Panthers that kill people? That's how you get the money.
I know. If you want to make, as Jon Stewart said on The Daily Show the other day, Shark Skeeto NATO or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Or with the crocodile twist kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just please cover this year of all years. How do you not cover it?
Well, especially because, like, with all this, this is the last thing I'm going to say about this, but especially with all this big news coming out. I mean, the thing is, too, this is kind of funny. I've actually got a couple messages from people that love our coverage. We're 2 guys. Well, Cody's a 3rd. So it's 3 guys. 24-hour coverage of Comic-Con.
Yeah.
That's, like we're hauling ass.
And we're thousands of miles away.
We're on the other fucking coast. And we're, constantly, like, sending each other, hey, did you hear about this news? No. Did you hear about this? Yeah. Okay, let's post or whatever. And it's like, that's the thing. Like, so 3 guys from Virginia Beach can do really good. I mean, our stuff's getting a lot of views on it.
Not just the big names either. We're giving you everything.
We're giving you IDW, Image, everything. I mean, this episode is based around the rise of the indie comics.
That's right.
So, I mean, we're giving you everything. So, like I said, 3 guys are giving you literally pretty much 24, at least 22 hours of content.
Because it's Comic-Con and you never know when news is going to come out. I mean, there was a time where this week I was sitting up 3 o'clock in the morning and breaking news happened. Because it's Comic-Con. This is the way it's going to happen.
I know you text me, you're like, oh, this just came out, this news that just happened. I'm like, of course it would.
It's ridiculous. So, I mean,
then you gotta remember, though, that 3 o'clock in the morning is 12 o'clock there. So, I mean, it's 3 hours behind.
Exactly. So we're trying to give you all the coverage that we can. As a matter of fact, since we're recording on Thursday, we won't be able to do a full Comic-Con show, but our next episode is going to be San Diego Comic-Con, all of it. The whole episode will be about San Diego Comic-Con.
And we're actually going to do that specially. I believe we're going to record it on Monday and release it on a Tuesday.
That's right. As a matter of fact, we will be covering what's happened so far at San Diego Comic-Con in this episode. So, you still want to stick around for that because we are going to be doing that. But let's get into, what we were doing this weekend.
Okay, so you start because my weekend was pretty boring.
Okay, well, my weekend I wouldn't say was boring. But I actually, I'm just probably going to start talking about becoming a dad a lot because it's going to happen.
The little guy is literally about to drop out of your wife.
It's happening. He's lower now. It's about to happen any day. So it was time I had to put the crib together.
It's like, okay, so when we talk about your son, it's kind of like in Man of Steel where he's like, in the little spaceship, he's just going straight towards
Yes, exactly. He is on his journey as we speak. Yeah. We're not supposed to be due for another month, but that's
so you put together the crib, or as you call it, the crate.
I did. I called it a crate twice. I've had nothing but puppies my entire life. I mean, I've been around kids, but called it a crate twice in front of my wife, which she thinks is hilarious.
And by the way, speaking of your wife, oh my God, that video of her saying, like, are you done yet? Hilarious.
Yeah.
Because after I saw that, I texted you. I'm like, dude, do you need help? Because, like, there's things just in pieces, and you're like, and you immediately text him, no, this is a right of fatherhood, of manhood. I will fucking get this.
I did. I had to do it myself. It was that rite of passage. Now, I will fess up right now. I don't know if this is good or bad. It took me 4 hours. I will preface that by saying that this isn't some normal crib. If you've ever gone to look at cribs before, they have these cribs where the changing table is already attached. It's got a little dresser that is attached to it, shelf. There was all that. So it wasn't just a regular crib.
Why did you just get your son a bat cave? Like a baby bat cave?
Well, it's kind of going in that direction.
Really?
You wait till you see some of the stuff that we're putting up in there. As a matter of fact, the folks from Super Lampshades are making some letters.
I saw that. That's pretty awesome.
The ones that I've seen so far is pretty fantastic. I think Blair's holding out on me, though. She won't show me the Batman one.
No, because she knows. It'd probably just be like one giant thing of Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and she knows that. She knows that I'm really psyched about that. So they've done a great job, and the art that I did is up there is going to be up there as well.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and do some more stuff, trying to branch out, But it took me 4 hours. But I decided to time myself on how long it took me. What did I do? I put on the Back to the Future trilogy.
Oh, nice.
Started from the beginning.
Nice.
And right about when number 2 ended is when I finished.
Okay.
So it was right at like when Back to the Future 2 ended. There's only one man that can help me, and he runs back out to where the DeLorean was, and that's right about when I finished. So that's how long it took me.
Wow. But I mean, I saw a picture of it. It looks really, really nice. Like it looks fantastic. So I mean, how is the nursery? Welcome to Baby Talk, by the way.
This is Baby Talk now.
So how's the nursery coming along, by the way?
It's going pretty good. Actually got some Spider-Man curtains in there, which are pretty sweet. We actually got 2 different ones. I got Superman ones, and I got Spider-Man ones.
It's nice to know that I'm being represented in your son's life.
See, there you go. Us both being big Spider-Man fans,
Yes.
of course. No, I got 2 different ones because, the wife wanted to make sure the paint color matched correctly and all that stuff. So, looks like the Spidey ones won out. Superman went in the nerd cave then.
Okay.
So I took the Superman curtains, put them in the nerd cave. And so, once he gets older, if he likes Superman more than Spider-Man, I'll swap him out.
Speaking of Superman, you bought literally the best baby bag I've ever seen in my life.
I'm sorry, but when you're a guy and you're going to be with your baby by yourself at times, you go to the park or something.
You don't want to have a baby bag that has little animals on it.
Exactly. You want to make it a little manly. So I'm like, okay, I got to find something. So of course I go on Amazon and I'm like, superhero diaper bag. I'm like, there's going to be nothing, right? So then I saw something that said messenger bag. And it was, picture your classic animated Superman suit.
Yeah.
Is the best way I could describe it. And it said messenger bag. And it said that it had a changing pad with it. For dads to know, you change the baby out in public, you got to put them on the changing pad, yada, yada, yada. So I was like, okay, I'll get this because I made sure it was the right size and everything. Didn't want to make sure it was too small so it would hold a bunch of stuff. I get it in the mail.
All right.
I shit you not. The changing pad had this big Superman logo on it. It's got like POW and stuff all over it.
No way.
I turn it around. There's a cape on the bag.
Yes!
It's a red towel. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves.
But still, it's adorable and it's amazing.
It's got like a little insulator bag for the bottles that you put in. It's fantastic. It's better than the diaper bag that we had actually registered for it. Everybody that's seen it loves it.
Dude, it's so awesome. Do they have any other messenger bags? It was just Superman. They have Batman. They have
I actually got flack for not getting a Batman one. Somebody said to me, "Why didn't you get a Batman one?" I said they didn't have one. Trust me, people. I looked. I exhausted all possibilities to get a Batman one, and they did not have one. I was just happy that I could get something like that at all.
Oh yeah, I mean.
See, again, nerd culture exploding. If I can get a Superman diaper bag in this day and age, come on.
I mean, yeah, man. That's simply awesome. I think I think honestly, of all the years, I think this is like the best day and age, especially if you're a nerd, to have kids because it's like there's just so much they can get into, and not just that, but it's like there's so much you can mold around them. Like I said, with the baby bag, with the curtains, with this. Yeah. I mean, years ago, I had there when I was little. We did have some stuff like that, but it was mostly with sheets and lunch boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Even
the lunch boxes were epic.
Dude, I had a pair, and I do not care how many women are listening to this. I had a pair when I was a little kid of Super Mario whitey tighties.
Yes. Well, we all wore tighty whities when we were a kid. That's what there was, though.
Yeah, that's all there was.
Not like we had options.
No.
That's what we had. I had this Transformers lunchbox. And I had that thing until the stickers were peeling off.
Yeah.
And it came, the plastic lunchbox.
Oh, yeah.
It came with a thermos.
Oh, yeah.
And the epic thermos Transformers. Oh, man.
Okay, the one lunchbox I had, it was awesome. It was my first lunchbox. It was a black Jurassic Park lunchbox.
Yes.
But it had the logo, the Jurassic Park logo on it. And it had a picture of the Raptors on it as well. It was a hard plastic. Someone took a sticker of the Jurassic Park logo and the Raptors and put it on there. The only problem with it, though, is when you're a little kid and you have one arm, because it wasn't like a zipper, it was a clasp. So you had to push up kind of thing. I couldn't open the goddamn thing.
Jurassic Park, one arm. It kind of works out.
It does.
You clever girl.
You clever girl. That's why I said to my mom when she got me that, I'd been like that Stewie moment. You clever girl.
Yes.
But no, my weekend was just. I mean, this is how I could put my weekend in perspective. In sports, there's always that one week, I believe it was which was last week or a couple weeks ago. There's always a couple weeks after the NBA finals and stuff like that where there's just nothing. There's no sports. There's no nothing.
Nothing going
at
on
all, and it's just dead. That's what my weekend was. Because it's like, there's no good movies out I want to go see. You know, I mean, The Purge Unity, I wanted to go. I wasn't about to seeing it, but I'm like, nah, not really.
Money's tight, man. I mean, you don't want to go to just anything.
No.
Nowadays, you know?
You know, so I'm like, there's not much to do. My friends are busy. You got your thing with the nursery going. And plus, I mean, with you and your wife, it's like, you know, I want you guys to have the weekend to yourself.
Yeah, that's what we're doing, too.
Because
we're soaking it all in as much as we can.
Because in a few weeks, there's going to be no time at all.
A friend of mine told me, he said the other day, he told me, he said, do you realize that this is the last few weeks that you're not going to have kids in your life?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm okay with that, but it's just
wow. Well, no, I'll say this. You've had dogs, so technically they're your quote-unquote fur babies.
Fur kids, yeah.
But this one you can't leave at home with a dish of water and say, here you go.
No, you can't do that at all. Well, and not go to prison.
Yeah.
So, and of course, we would never do that. Don't even go there.
No.
Don't Twitter bomb me or anything. I would never do that. So just don't even think that way. But, you know, sometimes you need those weekends, though. You need those weekends where you can just sit on the couch. You can absolutely crash out, read comics. You know, just go with Netflix. Just do nothing. Let your battery recharge.
Oh, yeah.
Make a steak. Do something.
That's kind of what I did. Like, Netflix, I watched a couple of episodes of Mad Men, and stuff like that, but, like, really my weekend wasn't much, because I played video games and I worked. However, this week, I'll say, up until yesterday night, actually was pretty interesting. One of my jobs involves me working in retail, and you know, I work 2 jobs, and one of them involves me working in retail, and you know, you always have the parents come with their kids. Speaking of kids, they run around, they can't sit still. Their parents are looking at something and they can't do it.
Yep.
So I decided, instead of, you know, saying, okay, well, how can I get this kid's attention so that way my coworker and his parents can kind of get something done here. And I grabbed a piece of paper and I sat across from him. He was like in his chair. He started fidgeting, and I just started sketching. I just started drawing, and you know, I mean, my drawings aren't the greatest, but if I take my time, they look pretty good. But he immediately looks at me and asks, "Can you draw a beach?" And he's like 5. I said, "Sure." So I drew a beach. It ended up looking more like an island kind of thing, because a beach is
that's what you kind of think of.
Yeah.
Though, I think.
So I had like an island. I had a guy like laying down underneath like a tree, and I had some waves and some birds, and I had a boat and everything like that. And he liked it. Showed his mom. His mom liked it a lot. And then he literally brings me back another piece of paper and asks me to draw something else for him.
That's funny.
And what was great was there was nobody in the store really, so I could concentrate. Like, okay, I can get this kid's attention.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was just. And what he ended up doing is I was drawing like Pokemon stuff too for him. Just random. I'm like, okay, what can I draw? I'm like, oh, I'm gonna draw Pokemon. So I just drew like a Magneton and stuff like that, and you know, and stuff that wasn't gonna take a lot of time.
Right.
And he grabs a pen and starts drawing with me.
There you go, man.
And
there you go.
This is the most heartfelt part of it. Was we're drawing, and he looks up at me and he goes, "Are you my friend?"
Aww.
And I said, "Yeah." And his parents and everybody in the store just went. That did that. They just did the whole awe thing. And I'm like, yeah. And it was pretty cool. And the entire time, like, I'm doing work. You know, a couple people came in the store, so I'm helping them out. And he asked me, kind of like, he's like, hey, can you come back and draw with me? Can you come back and draw with me? His mom's like, no, he's working. He's got to do his thing. Bottom line, ladies, I'm going to be a great father.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Someday you definitely will be. I had the exact opposite experience at the store the other day. And your story made me think of this. The exact opposite of that. But it didn't have anything to do with me, so that's a good thing. I was in Target. And I was picking up just a couple of, like, you know, you're out of trash bags, you go to the store.
Yep.
So I'm walking down one of the aisles, and one of the employees was there. And again, it was a kid that was running around, you know, kind of crazy in the aisles and stuff like that. And the mother had to be 4 feet tall, I swear. So I don't know how she keeps up with this kid. But fast forwarding ahead in our little story is one of the employees, you know, was kind of annoyed at that point.
Yeah.
Was saying, you know, what are you doing, kind of thing. Yeah. And he's like, I'm being cute or something like that. He said, I'm being.
Oh, he's a smart ass.
And then he said, and then he says, what are you doing? And she says, I'm about to leave and I have to go sit in traffic. You want to come sit in traffic with me? The kid's face drops. And he goes, no, Mommy, don't let her take me away. And I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? And at this point, the woman's mortified. And the woman's like, she's not going to take you. You know, the mom's like, she's not going to take you away. And the kid's mortified. I'm like, dude, is this like Taken 3? Was this kid traumatized somehow? And he went from little hellion running through the aisles all happy to terrified of someone who wasn't terrifying looking.
And that's going to be you in like 4 weeks.
It's just unbelievable that it took that turn that quickly.
Oh man. By the way, so one more thing before we go on to our next topic. So going back to your son, there's a little bit of a get together next week that I'm going to be going to for your son, and I already got him a gift. And
nice.
and it was when my mom was down here, and remember, and it was, and people, you know, it was. I know you said your wife loved it and everything. It was a Batman onesie.
Yes,
I think it had the cape and the cape
attached. A lot of use.
With the cape attached and little Batman booties.
Yes, and those went immediately in the wash, so I can have them ready. For when he comes out. Because you can't wash baby stuff in just anything.
And then, so I got the Batman stuff for him, and my mom goes, what about this? It's like a bike, like a leather jacket and like a leather hat. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to try to make him a biker. You do know this is a nerd child, right? And I thought, well, he could be Ghost Rider for all we know.
Ghost Rider, and you know, maybe that's his first Sons of Anarchy cosplay.
Yes!
Or something. I mean, you never know, right?
Bottles of Anarchy.
There you go. We're going to get him into cosplaying at an early age. That way he could be featured in cosplay.
And, you know, I said it'd be the last thing before, but you actually just mentioned it. I actually want to get this out. We do Cosplay Tuesday every week. And one of the best feelings I know I have, and I know James does and Cody does, is when we message them later that night after it's over with, about 1, 2 in the morning, and we say, hey, we want to let you know that you guys were chosen to be part of our Cosplay Tuesday. Feel free to post your comment, your pictures and your comments and whatever. And the following morning, I wake up and there's 17 notifications on my Facebook. From people saying thank you and just pictures of like I mean, one person was like, I did not expect to see this.
It was like they woke up and it made their day. Which
is cool, and it's like, you know, that's what it's all about. That's what Cosplay Tuesday is all about. That's what we're all about here, just on the show. It's just making you laugh, making you smile, making your day better. Because I mean, there's people that are like, you know, they wake up and the first thing it says, hey, we want to know. You were selected to be on part of this.
Right. Not to mention, I mean, you know, we know it's hard for them, too, to get the word out about what they do. Just like it's hard for us. You know, we're trying as hard as we can to bring you a great show and get the word out. We know it's not easy for anybody else either, so if we can help somebody get a few more likes or, you know, get them to see their photos and maybe, you know, they team up, do a cosplay to con or something.
By the way, we are at 196 likes. We're a few away from 200. History will be made and should be made this weekend during SDCC.
Of all the weeks for us to hit 200, this is the week. So if you know anybody that wants to listen to the podcast and wants to like our page, and now's the time with all the coverage that we're doing because we're pulling sources from everywhere. We're covering everything, which nobody else is doing from what I can see.
And speaking of covering things, up next is what we're reading. We're covering 2 new comics this week. Mine, a very, very hefty trade. You won't want to miss what we're reviewing this week for our comics. Again, what we're reading is coming up next. Stay tuned. More Down Nerdy coming up.
Even though San Diego Comicon is this week, it's called Comicon for a reason. # comics. So we always dive in to what we're reading every week.
Oh, yes. Now this week we got 2. Well, mine's not new. Mine's a classic review. James is a newer one. And so we're kind of going with the, like I said, mine's not really an indie. But it's
an arm.
It's an arm of DC. But I will pass on to you, sir, to go first.
Here we go. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows. So I saw an article about this Shadow one-shot that was going to be coming out from Cullen Bunn. And I was immediately interested, and I'll tell you why when we get into the review. First of all, it's a Dynamite comic. Congrats to them celebrating 10 years of bringing this comic goodness. We'll be talking a lot about them, I'm sure, in our main topic coming up. But Gabriel Hardman, the cover art for the Shadow #0 comic, what a fantastic job. It's basically the Shadow in chains in the front.
Yeah.
And you'll find out why here in a second. Art by Colton Worley and colors by Mark Ruda. If I butcher a name, I apologize in advance. But basically, if you don't know about The Shadow, it was based on serialized dramas in the 1930s. There was a radio program for The Shadow. They tried TV a couple times in the 50s.
I actually, when I was a little kid, I had 2 Shadow action figures. I had the regular Shadow, and then I had like the invisible Shadow.
I had the regular Shadow, but I did not have the invisible one. And I'm not ashamed to say I actually did like the Alec Baldwin movie. I liked it.
I never seen the Alec Baldwin
Really?
movie. Yeah.
You should check it out. It's kind of corny in spots, but it's worth watching, I think. I think it's a good movie.
Well, continue, sir.
But anyway, basically the Shadow, he's depicted as kind of like this vigilante with psychic powers, and wealthy man about town is like his secret identity kind of thing.
So he's like the independent Bruce Wayne.
Exactly. So, I mean, picture that when I'm talking about this review if you're not familiar with The Shadow. Now, basically it starts out, it takes place in New York in 1925. And who do we see? Harry Houdini. That's what the issue is about. It's about the Shadow meeting Houdini. And as it turns out, and I'm not going to dive into everything that happens, but basically the Houdini's training the Shadow before he becomes the Shadow to always be prepared for the next thing. So he's putting him through magician training to always be prepared for stuff that's going to go wrong.
Always be one, in the magician's term, always be one step ahead of your audience.
Exactly. So one thing that was really kind of cool about this comic, and they did really well, was they bounced between the training with the Shadow in 1925 and Los Angeles in 1936 with the actual Shadow. Now, what the Shadow's doing in this issue, ultimately, he's trying to infiltrate the United Society of Magicians and their hideout. Now, you're trying to figure out why they're doing this, and he's going through there's all these booby traps as he's trying to get in. He's attacked by a tiger, flaming spears come shooting out at him, because the magicians don't want to be found. Turns out this was a group that was actually founded by Houdini, and they kind of turned into assholes. And they decided to try and unlock these secrets. Now, keep in mind that Houdini has passed away at this point. Houdini died in 1926, so in 1936, he would have been passed on by then. Now, as it turns out, they kidnapped Houdini's wife, and they're actually beating her up. These guys are beating her down to try and get these secrets that she has. Now, we're trying to figure out, okay, what are these secrets?
Well, first of all, who are these guys? These are like regular mobsters?
These are the Society of Magicians guys. So it's a group of magicians. They didn't actually give them by name, per se.
But just like a secret society.
Exactly. So, I mean, eventually the Shadow busts in, and, he does his thing where he's trying to break it up, and they're throwing razor-sharp cards at him. There's a lot of action in like 3 or 4 pages, and he ends up disappearing and snaps one of their necks, so he ends up killing one of them. So it was pretty awesome, and he rescues Bess.
So it's kind of like that scene in Matilda where she's dancing and she's got the cards floating, except that she broke her father's neck. In this case, Danny DeVito.
Pretty much.
That's what the Shadows would have been
exactly. Like. So, I mean, you fast forward once he finally saves Houdini's wife, and she calls him Lamont because that's how Houdini knew him when he was alive. And apparently these were secrets that Houdini gave her from beyond the grave. He contacted her from beyond the grave like he said he would. And they don't actually say what the secrets are, because she doesn't want the Shadow to know, even though the Shadow should already know.
Yeah, he's
because
psychic.
The Shadow knows. And maybe he does. Maybe they're they kind of don't really say whether he knows what the secrets are or not, and it kind of ends where he says that she shouldn't have these secrets because it's too dangerous. So they imply that he wipes her memory, but it's not absolutely this is what's going to happen. And this was supposed to be a one-shot, but they also kind of give you the impression that you're going to get more now. So I can't wait to hear more. The story was fantastic. By Cullen Bunn. Fantastic.
Cullen Bunn has a lot of really, really great writing. I love a lot of his work. A lot of the comics I have in my collection are written by him.
And what's funny is it wasn't just the main story of when the Shadow was there. It was the backstory of his training with Houdini.
That's the thing. It wasn't just an origin story. Hey, here's when he was born, and da-da-da. This is like, this is like his training. It's kind of like, Batman, Ra's al Ghul thing. It's kind of like, Dark Knight. Or not Dark Knight, but Batman Begins.
It's very similar to that. And the art, as far as the art goes, I mean, it wasn't great, but it was pretty darn good. I'd say it was above average. I think that the cover art by Gabriel Hardman was absolutely fantastic. The story just had a great flow. Even the art was very intricate. Even though it was a fantastic art, it was very detailed. Like they show you the close-up on the chains when he's trying to break out in the underwater escape. And it's actually a cool way to do this because apparently History Channel is going to do a 2-part miniseries on Houdini in September, starring Adrian Brody. So I don't know if that had anything to the timing had anything to do with that.
I would love, like, speaking of of Houdini, I would love a Houdini comic book.
I would too, and I think that we might get some of that from this series. I think that if they do another issue, you could still revisit 1925 and the Training because they didn't really finish that off.
Right.
So they really left the door open, and for that reason and the fact that the story was so good, I would pull this. If there is going to be more to this series, I would add this to your pulls. It's a very interesting indie comic, and if you're a fan of The Shadow, it definitely does it justice. So definitely add this to your pull list if you're a fan.
Yeah, so now mine, like I said, this is a classic review, and I actually went out yesterday and bought the trade version of this.
You needed a hand truck to.
I needed a
too,
yeah.
Gosh.
I needed another hand. Well, I always need another hand, but the hand truck, maybe a couple of loading docks, because the book is freaking huge. And what my book this week is Preacher, and Preacher is made by Vertigo Comics, which is an imprint of DC.
Right. And
Preacher was made from 1995 to 2000. It was written by Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon. Cool thing about those guys is my friend actually met Garth Ennis, and he signed his copy.
Garth has got some good stuff out there too. I like his work.
And the page length now this is book 1. It says Preacher book 1, and there were 66 issues altogether of the series. I mean, the series ran for 5 years. So the first 12 issues are in this trade. And it's freaking 325 pages.
If you think about that, if you were looking at that as single issues, that's a pretty good issue. That's a lot of pages.
Well, for example, like I'm on page 81. 2 issues are like 81 pages. So in order to read through the first 2 issues, it was 81 pages.
Break
total.
that down too. I mean, think about it. If that was a $3.99 comic, you're getting 40
but
plus
here's
pages.
The thing,
that's
though.
Good stuff.
It was actually on sale where I got it. It was It was sold for $24, but I got it on sale for like $14.
Can't argue with that.
And now the plot, for those of you who don't know, it's pretty much surrounds there's this evil god, and he's the principal spawn of an angel and a demon. And his name is Genesis.
I thought you were going to say Joe Quesada.
That's another one. No, Joe Quesada wouldn't be an angel and demon. It would be
a demon and Hitler.
A demon and Hitler and Stalin in the corner jerking off. That's what Joe Quesada would be. But he escapes from pretty much like heaven has like its own kind of prison.
Okay.
In the sky, so he escapes from there, and it's pretty much like a comet with a face. They don't really like all you see of Genesis is like this white kind of comet. It's not like a beast or a form.
I guess you got to get away from heaven somehow.
So, anyways, there's this preacher, this pastor in this small Texas town called, his name is Jesse Custer, and it starts off with him pretty much. He's in this bar and he's drinking, and he's like telling everybody's confessions. Like, this person did this person did that, this person did that. And he goes, none of you guys, and he swears too, like the whole thing, it's literally one of the most darkest and most adult books I've ever read, and I love the fuck out of it. He's like, you motherfuckers never come to church, and I have like 2 people every day. You people think you can get to heaven by singing a couple fucking hymns, and you can't. And the next day, that Sunday, the church is full. And then all of a sudden, Genesis comes down and the person crashes through a window. Church is obliterated, and it binds itself with Custer.
Wow.
And so the angels are up there, and it's all awesome. It's like the angels swear. It's like what heaven I think would mostly be like. And it's just like angels swear.
You can do what you want.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like, so they say, okay, Genesis escaped. We have to wake up this guy, this being, and he's known as the Saint of Killers, and he's like this hunter, pretty much cowboyish hunter. He's been hidden in the grave for a while.
Okay.
And it's great because the angel says open, and as soon as the thing opens, gun comes out and shoots him right in the head.
Wow.
And he's like, "Why did you shoot me in the head?" And he goes, It's just how I act.
It's what I do.
It's what I do." And so pretty much it's a chase story because, mind you, Jesse has never met the Saint of Killers before in his life, but there's a scene where they have this kind of like this shootout with the cops, and the cops have their weapons drawn on Jesse, and Jesse goes, "Drop your..." His eyes go red. He goes, "Drop your weapons," and the cops drop their weapons. And you see the Saint of Killers, and Jesse just looks to his ex-girlfriend Tulip, and this guy that she both kind of met on the run named Cassidy, who has a pretty interesting secret himself in issue 2, but I'm not going to reveal it. And he just looks and goes, "We gotta get out of here." But he never met the guy. But something in him knew, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
So pretty much it's just like, you have this one cop, the sheriff, who's just like, "I know I saw this guy. We put so much bullets in him. We shot all these magazines in him. Nothing happened. Nobody believes me," kind of a thing. And it's just, it's literally like a big chase thing. It's a big chase book, pretty much.
Okay, so you say that it's a chase book, and now last week you did Amazing Spider-Man Annual, which was also kind of a chase book. So compare which was better and what made one better than the other.
Because the way that... Well, one...
I know you didn't do this on purpose. I'm just curious.
But the one... Preacher has, of course, more words in it. The art, which was, done by Steve Dillon, was pretty good. I mean, it was like... I think it was, if you had to compare it to another comic out there, I'd say it'd be like Saga. Kind of compare to Saga, maybe a little bit more better than Saga, which is done by Image. But the difference between them is just... There's more going on with Preacher than there is with Spider-Man. It starts off pretty much where the three of them are in a diner, and they're pretty much reliving how they first met. Tulip shot this gangster in the face and was running and Cassie was in his truck and she said, "Help me get out of here." So that's how they met. And then they pretty much see, oh my God, this church is on fire or whatever like that. It's blown up, and they're digging through it, and they're like, "Oh my God!" And she goes, "Holy shit, Jesse!" And that's how the three of them meet. And it's pretty interesting, like I said, because Cassidy kind of has this like secret he has revealed like towards the end of issue 2. And Preacher overall, like I said, it's a really, really dark tone, because not only do you have the Saint of Killers that's chasing Genesis, which is inside of Jesse, but you have Jesse trying to figure like, okay, what's going on here? He's like, I can make people do things that, with just my mind kind of thing. He's like, he even says, he goes, when that light hit me, which he's talking about Genesis, he goes, it was like as if it was from God.
So it's almost like your classic struggling with this event that's just happened to me kind of story.
And the thing with Genesis is that he's not totally evil. Like, he has a consciousness kind of thing. Like, he's not totally evil, but he's not totally good, because his father was an angel, his mother was a demon.
Right.
So it's kind of like...
You battle with the two halves of yourself kind of thing.
So, I mean, I'm really interested. Like I said, I read 81 pages.
Now, I'll be honest, I made him stop.
Yeah.
I made him stop at issue 2 because we were talking about it and saying, how much of this should I review? I said, it's 300 pages, dude.
325.
I said, stop at a couple of issues. We'll talk about that. And then, I'm sure we'll revisit Preacher later on down the line.
But it's like when I announced on my personal Facebook that I was going to review Preacher, I would get messages from people saying, "Oh my God, that's so awesome!" And a buddy of mine actually, he was listening to the show, Justin. He actually said, "Dude, are you sure you want to do this? Because you do know it's not like, I don't want you to go on the podcast and say, yeah, I read this new book called Preacher."
Yeah.
No. And the artwork in between, I showed you some of the artwork, like in between pages. It's very, very detailed, and it's like it has the kind of like there's one of Cassidy. It's just like a headshot of him. And it's, 1997 and stuff like that. It has the year written on it. It looks like you can tell, like, okay, this was drawn in the 90s. Like, it had that 90s feel.
Which is a good thing,
in terms of color. I mean, the story's great. I rarely laugh out loud when I'm reading a comic book. There's a line in here, I'll tell you what it is, between Cassidy and Tulip, where they're in the diner, and Tulip, this waiter goes to Tulip and goes, "Can I get you anything?" And she goes, "I'll have..." Preacher goes, "I have a burger." And Casey goes, "I'm good. I'm not having anything." Tulip goes, "Oh, can I have a chicken salad, but no chicken, just a salad?" And Cassie goes, what the hell? And she goes, I'm a vegetarian. He goes, I have and Cassie's a smart ass of the group. He goes, I have this really amazing recipe for quiche. And you mix this, you do that, and then you know what you do afterwards? You make it, you throw out the fucking window and grill yourself a goddamn T-bone steak. And I read that and I was laughing my ass off. I'm like, this is such great writing. And when I read it, I'm like, oh my god, I even texted this. I'm like, this is literally the most darkest adult book I've ever read in my life. And the reason why, here's the reason why I'm glad that Vertigo did it, and here's the thing that people might not know about the reason why there are imprints. And companies have them because of the Comic Book Code Authority. Mm-hmm. That's why. So DC's like, okay, we can't do it under DC, but if we made an imprint and gave it its own thing,
which is why Hellblazer was done that way as well.
Yes. So and I mean this, like I said, if this had DC on it, you'd be like, no way. DC's all about like superheroes and capes and yay, and Vertigo is just like, welcome to hell, bitch.
Exactly.
But this is because it's a definite pull, but you can't put it in your pull because there's none of it.
It's old, right?
But it's a pickup. It's a definite buy. It's a full price buy.
That's why we do this too. Like people were saying, why are we reviewing an old comic? Because not everybody knows that this stuff exists, and you should.
Well, that's the thing too. Or also there's a TV show that's going to be made.
Right.
A TV show or a movie. I think it's in pre-production, but they're trying to get it
Seems like that's been going on for a while.
It's been in development for a while. And
we'll find out more about
and
that.
whenever stuff like this, like for example, like we talked about a couple episodes ago, nobody really read Walking Dead before the TV show.
Exactly.
So when the Preacher TV show comes out, it's based on the Vertigo comics. People go back and buy the trades and buy Preacher.
I was at a large book retailer.
Yeah.
The other day. And they actually had all the Hellblazer trades.
Oh no! You said they were like the size of like 20 Bibles.
Exactly. And why? Because Constantine's coming out in the fall, and watch those babies sell like hotcakes when that show comes out.
Yeah, I mean, just really, like I said, both of our stuff this week pick up. Great rebound. Like I said, I was looking for because I wanted to do because this is our indie episode, so I wanted to get an indie comic, and I'm like. There are a lot of indie comics now. They're in their mid-runs.
I still think you kind of did.
I think I did.
I think you did. It's not it's an arm of DC. It's not DC.
Right.
It's different.
Right.
To me, it is. I don't know.
I don't know. But speaking of great ideas and for books, we're going to discuss some good ideas, some not so good ideas from Comicon, and also some other nerd news as well. So we're going to be kind of combining Comicon and nerd news to be comic news. This week, Nerd News Special Edition, whatever the hell you want to call it, it's coming up next. Well, it's that time once again, boys and girls, nerd internets alike, where we go around the internet because it's time for, it's just news this week.
Yeah, it's a lot of news.
Yeah, but the first topic I want to get to though, is we're going to talk about Comicon, that's the most recent thing that happened, and we got some release dates, James.
And there's a ton of release dates that came out. As a matter of fact, Sony finally came out and gave us the dates for not just Amazing Spider-Man 3, but looks like Sinister Six is going to jump out first, as a matter of fact. Drew Goddard's going to write and direct, and it's going to be, of course, the bad guy mashup of all the Sinister Six, and they're going to release it on November 11th of 2016. And you're thinking, that's kind of curious. Well, now we found out the Amazing Spider-Man 3, which is in flux, and that's an understatement, will now be released in 2018.
The flux capacitor in the DeLorean Back to the Future was in flux because it was fluxing. This is like Spider-Man 3 is like because Orchie left, so it sounds like
you need a lot more than 1.1 gigawatts to
you need that and a bunch of plutonium you stole from Libyans.
Here's my thing though, and before we move on to the other release date that they announced, I want to just touch on this while we're still on Spider-Man here. You're going to do Sinister Six first. Now, to me, Sinister Six is a gamble already.
Yeah. We've talked about this.
How will, if this movie doesn't, first of all, make a lot of money, which doesn't really matter, I guess, but if it doesn't make a lot of money and it doesn't generate any buzz, how does this hurt the franchise even more going forward?
Well, here's the thing: is we mentioned about this when it first, many shows ago, when the idea when it was first released, that hey, we're doing a Sinister Six movie. And I said, I hope this isn't a movie where it's just origin stories, and where they're plotting to get Spider. The whole thing is just them plotting, Like Lord of the Rings. I hope it's not just people walking to get Spider-Man or walking to a volcano kind of thing, you know?
And the assumption is that Spider-Man's not going to be in this movie.
No.
Which is now Black Cat, maybe they do something like that just to get some sort of a hero in there. But to me, this is a gamble again with this franchise because now you're going to wait until 2018 to put out your next Spider-Man movie, and I guess with everything going on, I get it. I just don't see how, and maybe this is the wrong thing for me to say, I just don't see how this forwards the cause.
No, and also, imagine this. This is going to be 4 or 5 years until the next Spider-Man movie.
That's a lot, man.
Andrew Garfield's in his 30s right now.
That's a lot.
I think he's like 31, 32, so he's in his mid to late 30s. He's gonna play. I mean, I understand that in college, you have people who are like in their 40s and 50s who are at school, but still, it's like.
Well, I mean, he can.
If you want to go the amazing route, he's a young teen.
He can probably pull it off because I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to look that much older. Even then,
but still, it's like I think he wants to do some other things.
Well, he'll have time now. He's got 4 years before this movie comes out, so I just have time.
I mean.
It concerns me because I don't see how this makes it better.
And I know they want to do Venom. It's another,
and that pushes that back.
Yeah, pushes that back. Yeah, so it's like, I think what I look at this, I look at it from a TV aspect, okay? You look at a show like, for example, Desperate Housewives, all right? I loved the first few seasons of it because I was like, okay, it was pretty witty and I kind of enjoyed it. But then the seasons got long. And the same thing like another show that happened to me was with Weeds. Like, okay, cool, it's a really good show, funny, whatever. And then I'm like, oh god, it literally just went one way and it's like, it's repetitive and it's just not good anymore. It's like, okay, this thing should only have like 4 or 5 seasons and then just end it. Right. With Spider-Man, it's like, okay, do you really want to do a Sinister Six movie? Like, I mean, if you're going to do it like reverse Avengers style, you know what I'm saying? Like, introduce maybe at the end of each credit scene a new part of Sinister Six.
I'm not going to lie and say that it's not cool that we're getting a Sinister Six movie,
I'm not saying, but it's like, what can you do? Like, what other than like planning?
Therein lies the problem.
What can you do? Like, are you going to show like Otto Octavius getting the arms put on him, and that's pretty much it? And like, what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to Spider-Man. It's going to be like, hey, we're going to plot against Spider-Man. How? Like, what are you going to do? Is this going to be a roundtable discussion? What's it going to be?
Right, not only that, but I realize that part of the movie is going to be them coming together as one unit, which they kind of teased at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Which upset me,
How long is that going to take? That's the thing. I mean, obviously, there's probably going to be a little infighting, and there'll be part of that.
What upset me about Amazing Spider-Man 2 was the ending. I'm going to spoil this. I don't care because
we've already
reviewed it anyways. But Harry's in an insane asylum. He's and he's in Ravencroft, and the Man in the Hat visits him, and Harry looks normal, and he says to him, "You look better." He goes, "Oh, I can turn it on and off." That upsets me.
I understand that.
Because the Goblin, one thing about him is that this is the problem when I say, okay, they're changing his whole physical appearance. I'm like, why can't I just be like a dude in like not like Power Rangers like it was with the first Spider-Man movie, with Raimi, but like just something, you know what I'm saying, where like the mouth moves.
Well, I said
like
from the beginning that I didn't like the look.
He looked like the Leprechaun's child.
I liked the Raimi version a lot better. It still wasn't perfect, but I liked it a lot better than this version.
But even the concept art they showed for the Raimi stuff was even amazing because it was kind of true to the comics. But it's like he can't turn it on and off. The one thing about the Goblin is that he's Jekyll and Hyde. He's like, he makes you go crazy just randomly.
It should always be in his head.
That's
the point.
He's your conscience if your conscience was insane and ramped up to 11.
Exactly. So, I mean, it'd just be very interesting to see where they go with the Sinister Six. Now, the thing that's replacing Amazing Spider-Man 3,
which I'm excited about,
in the movie lineup is going to be, finally, we're going to get the Uncharted movie, which is going to come out on June the 10th, 2016.
And can I say this? The fact that an Uncharted movie is coming out, I believe that, and I know there are 2 different studios, I do not think we're going to see another Indiana Jones for a long, long time.
No, I think it'll be a while. And, of course, just want to get this out of the way, it's going to be directed by Seth Gordon. Of course, the screenplay is going to be done by David Guggenheim. Now, here's where it goes left for me.
Yeah.
The rumor is now, again, rumor, but we got to discuss it. They're talking that Mark Wahlberg will play Nathan Drake. No!
I'm sorry, but... I'm saying this because this guy looks like Nathan Drake.
And I like Mark Wahlberg.
But
let's move on.
The guy that I wanted to play Nathan Drake, and I'm not the only one.
Should we just say it together because we're both going to say this?
On the count of 3, let's hold hands.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Nathan Fillion! Cody's not even here, and it's obvious. The character's basically based off of Nathan Fillion. And what's Nathan Fillion even doing right now?
Well, I mean, he was in Guardians of the Galaxy, but as a cameo.
For 5 seconds, he's going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, come on. This is a no-brainer. And if you want, people will go see this movie just for him. So there's half your worries right out the window right there.
Yes.
He can do this. He can easily free himself up for a multi-picture deal.
Yeah.
If this movie succeeds, and it probably will. So why not do this?
Yeah.
Because everybody wants you to, so you're not gonna? That doesn't make any sense. Now, again, it's just a rumor. Nothing's actually happened. They haven't casted yet. You better start soon, because it's coming out in June of 2016.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm sure we'll find out more in the coming weeks as far as what's going on with Uncharted. Very excited about that, but more exciting for me.
Yes, Emmy, don't you dare leave me out of this conversation. And I'm so excited this is happening. Finally, that this next story we're going to get to finally has a date. Ghostbusters 3 to start pre-production in spring of next year.
Dan Aykroyd dropped that bombshell on the Today Show, and he actually said, and I quote, "It looks like we'll be in pre-production in the spring of 2015 now. From what I'm hearing, it should be good." Oh, it's going to be good. Because we've been waiting so long for a continuation of Ghostbusters. I wish they'd never stopped making movies, but I do have a couple of concerns with it right off the bat on its surface.
Okay.
First of all, I think it was Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen that were rumored to be in it originally.
I heard that they were going to go...
Paul Rudd for sure.
I heard that they were going to go the route of, like, kind of the video game, where it was, like, new recruits, like a new generation.
Which I think is a good route.
Yeah. Which is a good route. I hope that, I hope that, I know Murray kind of says he doesn't really want anything to do with it.
That's the problem, though. How can you do this without him?
You can't do it without Venkman, because Venkman is the guy that pretty much is the head of it. I mean, if it was like, I know I said, okay, he might be a ghost or something like that, but he's like, no, I don't want to be that way. So it's like, when Roy, as much as I love Dan Aykroyd's character, Roy wasn't really the strongest of the characters.
No,
as much as I love that movie, I love all three of them.
And I love Dan Aykroyd, too.
But Roy, when you have a guy like Venkman, who was just ahead of it, he had that smart, witty dialogue, and he was honestly, if you're gonna put like Seth Rogen or even Paul Rudd, who was that smart wit.
I think Paul Rudd would be great.
Yeah,
if he even has time anymore.
Yeah, but if Paul Rudd, who has that wit, and you match up with Murray, that can be some great chemistry on
definitely.
screen.
I agree.
So that's my thing. Also, like number 2, it was okay. It wasn't the greatest, but no, I just think that it's.
I can't blame Bill Murray for not wanting to be involved with a film that doesn't have a good script.
Yeah.
So if he read it, didn't think it was good, I get it.
And my main problem, there's two worries I have. A, is pre-production. So we know there are movies that are in pre-production hell for years and years and years.
Threshold. Yeah, right.
So until they say, hey, we're actually rolling camera, okay, I'll believe it. It's kind of when I believe it when I see it. Another thing is just, it's been years since the second one.
A long
so
time.
Normally sequels that happen years and decades after aren't that great.
What if they fill the gap with not having Murray by having somebody, maybe it's Paul Rudd, as Venkman's son, and they go that route, and that's how you can do it without him?
Okay. Well,
I'm not saying I don't know how they do that, but
here's the thing, though. Egon's dead.
Right, so obviously he can't be in it.
Well, no, but I'm saying, like, that's a big piece. He was, the brains behind the operation.
Maybe that's how the whole thing gets completely shut down, though, is him not being there anymore.
Well, yeah, and that's my main thing. I mean, he passed away, so it's just,
I think it can be done. I think it should be done. I think there's genuine concerns there, but, I mean, at the same time, should that stop it from actually happening? No, it shouldn't stop it from happening. But give me something good, though. Give me something that we can actually sink our teeth into, because just like Bill Murray, we don't necessarily want it if it's a bad script.
Right.
Now, like we said when we were covering San Diego Comic-Con this week, we weren't just going to go with the biggies, the big movies, the big publishers, Nick. We're also going with our indie folks as well.
Yes, well, I mean, we do have friends that work in the independent comic industry.
And they're good friends.
And they're very good friends of ours. But IDW Publishing and Comics Experience, LLC, they're actually joined together to publish new creator-owned properties from new creators, which is pretty awesome.
It's awesome, and that's something that Drew Moss has told us that IDW has always been very open to.
Yep.
You can bring them an idea, they won't kick you out of their office, they'll actually listen to what you have to say, and we've got 4 pretty cool projects that have come out.
Yeah, I mean, now they're going to launch in January of next year, so next year, first, and one is Drones by Chris Lewis and Bruno Alvaria, Creature Cops, Gutter Magic by Rich Dweck and Brett Barkley, Tet by Paul Allor and Paul Tucker.
Which, if you're thinking Vietnam, yep, it's based around the Vietnam War, so there you go.
And, I mean, it's really, really awesome. So, I mean, and Bobby Curnow, who's the Comic Experience alum, and he's also the current editor on IDW's TMNT, Godzilla and My Little Pony, he's going to be overseeing this new partnership. So it's great because you got a guy that's bet on both sides of the coin.
I got to be honest, if I'm looking at this list right now, I think I'm most intrigued by Gutter Magic because it's actually set in a world where World War II was actually fought with magic. I mean, to me, that's pretty cool. And it says, in the heir to the powerful magic dynasty can't cast a spell to save his life. So, I mean, to me, that's interesting. What if World War II was fought with magic? I mean, it's another one of those what ifs that I think is pretty cool.
I read a thing for Drones, and it's talking about a terrorism-themed hotel in Las Vegas. Immediately, I think of Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Vegas game.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be pretty interesting. Creature Cops, man, that sticks out to me a lot.
It's a weird kind of, and it's
because I love Saga. Saga's such a weird comic where it has animals that talk.
And it's what's the other tagline? Special Creature Unit or something like that?
Yeah, Special Varmint Unit.
There we go. There it is.
But there's one comic though, James, that is coming out in 2015 that has got a lot of praise on the television circuit.
This has jumped right off the page, and the fact that IDW is going the BBC route once again. They had Doctor Who for a while before the license moved to Titan. Now they've picked up on Orphan Black.
Yes.
Which is a very cool thing. I think it's a big get for them, a big announcement from them at Comicon this week. And they've actually come out and said that in the press release that it will not be a clone of the show, but it will feature all new stories set in the complex and thrilling world of Orphan Black.
Now here's the thing, the interesting thing about that is they're actually, when Orphan Black, when the episodes are done each season, that's when the comics are going to be coming out.
Which is brilliant.
And they're going to be bridging what happens in between each season, which I hope a lot of, this is what a lot of indies are doing.
We'll be talking about that coming up in our main topic with the rise of the indie comics, about how that's starting to happen. And I think that that's really smart because I'll use Arrow as an example for me. Right when that Arrow finale stopped, my first reaction was, I gotta wait until October now to find out what happens.
Or in your mind is, I gotta wait for it to come on Netflix.
Yeah, then there's that too. So, I mean, it's a great way to bridge the gap. And they said, Editor-in-Chief Chris Ryle from IDW actually said that the second season expanded the series in exciting new directions that has only increased the amount of stories that we'll be able to tell in comic form. So the way Season 2 ended for Orphan Black actually opened the door. And this is not IDW's first trip into the TV route.
No, I mean, they've done Doctor Who, they 24, Angel, CSI, X-Files, tons and tons more.
You could throw Transformers and G.I. Joe in there as well.
My Little Pony if you want to.
I mean, so they've got a huge amount of experience in doing this sort of thing. So I think the BBC, they've had good luck with IDW and Doctor Who, so they decided to, hook up with them once again to do this. And just a great way to start out Comic-Con, I think, for the guys at IDW.
Great job. And like I said, we're going to have more. We have 24-hour coverage of Comic-Con. Of course, we're not doing it now because we're doing the show.
And we'll get into all of it, too. We'll talk about the Ant-Man poster that came out, the Jurassic Park concept poster that came out as well. All the posters, trailers, Hall H, we got you covered. So next week will be our big Comicon episode. But right now it's time for our regular
Nerd News! And the first off, we start off, well, very, very sad news.
for a lot of reasons.
A lot of reasons, especially if you work for Microsoft or Xbox, in the Xbox division. They announced last Thursday that they were going to be shutting down their Xbox Entertainment Studio, Microsoft is, and they're going to be laying off 18,000 people.
That's a lot of people,
18,000 over next year, and about 12,500 of those, James, they're going to be the factory positions and will be professionals. They're going to be cut as part of its $7.2 billion acquisition of Nokia's handset business, which it closed back in April.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, this is what happens. When people say, oh, these mergers are so great. Great. This is what happens when mergers happen.
Did this need to happen, too, is the other thing for me.
No.
I mean, they had some new and innovative things that they were trying to create on their own, and then through this business decision, it basically renders at least 50% of their presentation that they had at E3. It renders it absolutely moot because now most of this stuff isn't even going to happen.
But, now here's some things that aren't going to be affected. Microsoft's come out and said this. Programs are already in development, like Signal to Noise, which is a documentary series about Atari. Steven Spielberg's going to produce TV series based on Halo game. Of course, they would never cancel that.
No.
And a Halo digital series produced by Blade Runner director Ridley Scott's production team. And also, there's going to be a show called Every Street United, which is going to be about, it's going to be tied to the World Cup.
Soccer stuff, right?
Soccer stuff. Notice, we mentioned IDW in our regular news segment. Mm-hmm. No talk about Winter World.
You see, that's the thing that frustrates me, is that they had some interesting original programming projects. That was part of their big sell at E3, and I hate to keep going back to E3, but that was their big sell. Look at all this original programming that we're going to have. Look at all these things that we're going to do now, and put ourselves up there or even past PlayStation and Sony. And now, rewind, people. That's not happening.
Yeah.
So they're already getting their ass handed to them by Sony already in sales. This is not going to help.
And no, because like I said, I don't have an Xbox One, I don't have a PS4, neither do you. And it's like, okay, if I had to think about this, okay, would I want to buy a console from a company that just laid off 18,000 people?
Not only that, but I mean, what makes Microsoft any better than Sony now? At all. I mean, what sets them apart? Nothing anymore. Because at least these projects with that little thing that would have at least given you pause and said, "Hi, you know what? I'd really like to be able to watch Halo and Winter World, but now I can't."
Well, Halo you can watch because they said it's not going to be disrupted. But Winter World, like the first issue they couldn't keep in stores, and it was because it's going to be on Xbox. That was a big thing. We talked about that.
Yeah.
So it's going to affect guys like our friend Bob over at Fantasyscape.
Yep.
Because he's going to say, okay, Winter World got canceled.
Ripple effects, man.
They haven't said anything about it, but my guess is that it's not in production yet.
It's not in production, so it's gone. Yeah.
So, what's going to happen is that you're going to have guys like Bob and our local shops say, okay, how much do I order? Like, I can't, the way the first issue sold, it's like, okay, I can order as much as I want because I know it's going to sell. Now, it's like I went, the place I was at yesterday had number 2, and I'm like, issue 2, I'm like, there's a good amount of it.
Now, I mean, I'll be honest. I think that IDW is probably hoping that Winter World just sells well on its own merit.
Yeah.
But part of the reason they were re-releasing it in the first place was because of this series that was coming out.
In the agreement with Xbox.
Exactly. So, now, here's my thing, though. Does Sony kick Microsoft directly in the balls and pick up a couple of the projects that are now defunct because of this?
I think we will see that. I think because you have the power thing going on. Sony, like I said, it's not like Sony doesn't have plans to do their own original programming.
And it's not like they don't have production studios available. And that, I mean, if anybody could do it, it's Sony. It's not like Microsoft.
Well, the thing is, too,
it's not like Microsoft had a lot of experience producing programming anyway. Well,
the thing is, too, is you look at from a standpoint of business. All right. The thing is like if you're IDW or whoever, and you say, well, let's see here. We had this agreement with Microsoft and it fell through in a big, big way. Sony has pretty much had stability for many, many years. If I have an idea for a show, I'm going to Sony because especially if you're independent, because Sony's shown with independent gaming how they're open to like, hey, we love independent games and gamers and creationists, the people who create these independent stuff. If you're like an IDW or a Dark Horse, and you're an independent publisher or Dynamite, and you say, okay, we want to do a show based on something. If our friend Nancy Collins said, I want to do a Vampirella TV series or miniseries, she should, I think, more likely go to Sony because Sony has a better track record.
I think the other places, let's not discount Netflix, let's not discount Amazon. They've been doing a lot of good work with their production as well.
Yeah, picked up Community.
Even maybe Machinima jumps on and does something like Winterworld. I mean, there's options, but they shouldn't have to have options because they had a deal in place with Microsoft. And unfortunately, for people, and I don't want to discount some of the other series either that are not going to happen. I don't remember them off the top of my head, and I apologize for that. But we don't want to discount them either because they shouldn't get screwed either in this deal. But it's just unfortunate, not just for the series that aren't coming out and the production workers that aren't going to have jobs now, but for those factory workers as well.
And exactly. And the last thing I want to say about this before we move on to our next story is that, this is a game changer. Like, this really is. I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of people look at Microsoft totally different.
It's a game changer in a game that they were already losing.
Exactly, and it's just it's tough, and again, it sucks to those people who lost their jobs.
Hey, Nintendo, here's your chance. Here's your chance to get back in the game. Microsoft is on the ropes. Time to hit them hard. You got to get back. This is your chance to take number 2 back, I think.
But speaking of taking things, well, not back, but just in a different direction.
Oh, it's back, just in a different sense of the word.
Yeah, back-assed. USA Today reports that Marvel is changing the Hulk. Marvel came out and said they're going to change the Hulk.
We shouldn't be shocked at this by this point, though.
But, I mean, we had Thor being changed last week, and you had Superior Iron Man, and then you had Captain America, which we knew was happening. And then you're like, oh, okay, we're going to change the Hulk and make him super intelligent, though it causes, quote, side effects.
Of course it does.
Okay, I'm reading 2 Hulk runs right now.
Now, this was from the Extremis biotechnology that Stark used to save Banner.
As I said, I'm reading 2 Hulk arcs right now. I'm reading regular Hulk, and I'm reading Hulk vs. Iron Man, which is tied to the original Sin, which is also tied to the regular Hulk series.
Which lived in the house that Jack built.
Yes.
Jeez.
So, I mean, the way this was when I mentioned weeks ago that, Marvel knew they messed up by making him mentally challenged to say, okay, how can we fix this? Well, let's put Extremis in his brain. And, it helped him. In one issue, he was back to being Bruce Banner. This one, in Hulk vs. Iron Man, it kind of sets up like, okay, back and forth kind of between the present and the past. And after the orb kind of has this blast that, causes everybody to see, like, oh my god, this person did this, and this person did that. And, this isn't a big shock to me, because Marvel said a couple months ago they were going to go this route where, after Mark Waid left, after issue 4 of the regular Hulk series, and Jerry Dugan and Mark Bagley were coming in for number 5, they were going to go for the route of where, okay, he wants to now go after and chase and hunt down these gamma creatures, kind of like these gamma beings,
right?
Like She-Hulk, which is weird, and like Abomination. But here's the problem, though: A, he already does that.
Right.
B, in the Hulk vs. Iron Man series, he talks about how Banner does, how he doesn't want to use gamma rays to create a bomb. He's telling Thunderbolt Ross, he's telling Tony Stark this. He goes, my goal is to, he said, my goal is to create, solve world hunger using gamma radiation, by using a new cold storage method, and I can cure Alzheimer's with gamma rays. So it's like, you're infusing people with gamma rays, yet you want to hunt down gamma-rated people.
I'm going to cure you, but then I'm going to have to come after you if
I'm going to feed you, but I'm going to kill you afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and this makes a super smart Hulk now, which, correct me if I'm wrong, has been done at least twice before in the past. I mean, it's just, to me, it's another example of Marvel abandoning a good story just to change.
Because the thing is the original, like, what drew me to Hulk was issue number 1, and it had Bruce Banner, and it had Target, and it said, "Who shot Banner?" And it's like, okay, because it starts off like inside the S.H.I.E.L.D. offices, like some rogue cops or maybe Hydra people, who knows, somebody shot Banner in the head. And it's never, since like the first issue, it's never built upon who shot Banner.
Yeah, let's abandon that.
So it's like, well, wait a minute, who shot Banner? Because like that's an interesting arc, because of the silhouette that they gave us was a female. It looked like a female. So who knows, But I'm just like, oh, like why? Like, you have such a good thing going. Why, why not go off and make, bipolar Hulk or like sad Hulk? If you're gonna go this route. When I first heard that they were doing Savage Hulk, I'm like, okay, this is what they're going to tie into. Maybe we're going to say, hey, we're going to give its own run. We're going to do this thing. And they're like, oh, well, Hulk, he has this situation where, he's also a gamma-rated person, so is he going to kill himself? Probably not.
No.
It's just, it doesn't make sense at all.
I just don't know why you do this just to do it. I think that that's what they're doing. Because Superior Spider-Man was so successful. When they did that, they feel like, oh, well, if it worked for Spider-Man...
If we do drastic changes to one major character, we can be fine doing the other major characters.
Let's just do it all at the same time. I just don't understand why you don't give me the option of this version of Hulk and regular Hulk.
And the thing is, too, is you have...
And that goes for all the characters.
Well, the thing is, too, is the Hulk vs. Iron Man, like I said, it's part of the original Sin run. And it's like, okay, you have this... Watcher can see other dimensions. Have it in another dimension.
Yeah,
where this happens.
DC did, and I don't like comparing the two, but I can't help it in this instance. DC has an Earth 2 book. They've also got Batman, Detective Comics, Batman Eternal, that are separate entities because you want to tell that many stories at once. If Marvel, if you want to do that, just do that. Call one. Hulk, and then the other Extremis Hulk. Anything.
Yeah,
do it.
That would be awesome.
Come on.
Call it Extremis Hulk. And then be like, okay, we're going to do this run, and then have it different.
And it's a separate entity. It stands on its own, because if you believe in your characters, Joe Quesada, if you believe in your characters like Samuel L. Jackson says you do,
yes,
then maybe you should try expanding them into several different issues instead of pissing on them and doing it this way.
It's as a Marvel fan, it's really hard, man.
I know. I see it in your eyes, man.
Because it's sad because like they have so many good arcs, and they're like, we're just gonna totally change this because we gotta do it. It's like you don't have to. It's like you're number 1 in sales.
I mean, and I know
you're number 1 in sales. Why?
And I know this isn't unprecedented. Like, DC killed off Barry Allen and then brought him back later on with Wally West. I mean, I'm not saying you can never do stuff like this, but first of all, you're doing it all at once. Second of all, you're doing it in a way that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't. If Thor died somehow, let's say Thor dies, and then Molinar has to be passed on.
Mjolnir.
Mjolnir. My fault. So let's say it has to be passed on to someone else, just like when a Green Lantern dies and the ring has to go to someone else.
I've inserted Hal Jordan.
Why don't you just do it that way?
Yeah.
Why doesn't Thor die? Why do you have to say, oh, he's not worthy anymore? Well, if he dies, you got no choice. It's got to find someone. So,
yeah,
if you did it that way, I guess I'd be more okay with it.
But let's stop with this and go to a happier place. And like Happy Gilmore. Let's go to a happier place where Grandma's winning slot machines.
That's right.
And just
Julie Bowen's in her baby suit kind of thing.
Yeah.
Picture of what was it, lemonade?
But beer. Two
pictures
of beer walking through a sprinkler. Let's go to that happy place.
Much better things coming.
A little person on a unicycle. Let's go to that happy place.
Much better things coming from DC, and they're already talking about the big Arrow and Flash crossover, which both shows look like they are going to be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, Flash actually debuted their pilot last night, and it's gotten rave reviews. People saying it's probably one of the best superhero shows on TV.
People have been saying that about Gotham, too, which makes me excited for that as well. But, I mean, they don't want to wait to merge the two universes because they started it in Arrow.
And notice, like, the CW is going to Arrow's third season will premiere October 8th. So, yeah, few months.
And they're going to do it in very early on in the season. It's going to be in one of the first 9 episodes.
Yeah.
And actually, Andrew Keisenberg actually said it's really going to be an adventure with Arrow and Flash on both episodes. Watching the two teams come together and fight alongside each other, it's one of the most fun parts. We just don't believe in waiting. Thank you. We believe in accelerating storytelling, and especially for those first 9 episodes of the season for both shows, hopefully we've designed it so that none of them will be missed.
Yeah, and here's the thing about this is that this is smart because if you go back to the comics, you're a big DC guy, James. Mm-hmm. Arrow and Flash team up, and it's really one of the most interesting arcs.
Yeah.
Because in the arc, Arrow kind of like, oh my God, what have I become? He's kind of like, there's a part where Arrow loses it in the run. Like,
and don't forget Green Lantern is involved in that team up as well. There was a big team up for a long time between Green Lantern and Green Arrow, and they've kind of teased Hal Jordan a couple times on Arrow, so we don't know if they're going that route. But one of the other things that I think is exciting is they also talked about who the main villain's going to be for Arrow Season 3, and they've dropped hints, and I've got ideas because he went on to say that Slade had a very specific agenda, meaning Deathstroke. Said he was out for revenge and had to stop an elaborate 5-year plot. What's interesting about the villain in Season 3 is that he doesn't necessarily disagree with Oliver. He doesn't have any personal animus towards the Arrow, and he actually, in some ways, has very similar worldviews, but thinks the Arrow is thinking too small. Who does that sound like?
Tell me if I'm getting this right. Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, that really does. And we've already got the League of Assassins established in the Arrow universe. And of course, Sarah went with Nessa Al Ghul at the end of the season finale in Season 2.
Thanks for ruining it for me, asshole.
So, sorry about that. So,
I haven't seen Season 2, you jackass. You knew that.
Totally
you knew I didn't have cable. No. Fuck you.
Totally forgot about that.
You knew I didn't have cable. Why do you think I said earlier in the show, hey, I gotta wait till it's on Netflix? They just went right through one ear and out the other asshole.
If it makes you feel any better, it doesn't really ruin anything. You see it coming in the middle of the season.
But still, dude.
But, I mean, there's just so much that's going on. They also released the Red Arrow a.k.a. Arsenal photo for Roy finally gets his suit.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I mean, if you look at the picture of it, it looks like basically kind of a red version
of Arrow.
But it's got
buckles.
It's got a little different design. It's got buckles on it. It's got a little bit more weaving on the actual jacket part. So cosplayers, get ready because that's coming. I actually wouldn't be surprised if somebody tried to pull that off short term at Comicon. But I mean, look at all the stuff that they're going to be introducing in the Flash. We've got Plastique. They announced was going to be part of it now. Weather Wizard.
Yeah.
They're casting Wentworth Miller as Captain Cold now.
They'll also tease Reverse Flash, too, didn't they?
They've got Professor Zoom's going to be in there. They apparently, from what I'm hearing in the pilot, show an empty cage with Grodd. So Gorilla Grodd now. So all these villains that are going to be possibilities. And then you think, okay, who's the villain going to be in the team-up for Arrow and the Flash? Because there's probably going to be a main baddie that they both need to team up to go after that crosses both universes. So I just think that they've ramped it up.
Yeah.
This
is also the first show CW's really had where they can do the crossover. And they did it smart because, like, hey, we got these two guys who are in the comics, have history together, so we can tie them together.
I like the fact that they've got an entity that they know is working, that they know is being successful and has a lot of buzz on social media. Not just Stephen Amell's page, but the Arrow Facebook page has 4 million likes right now, and the Flash is going to catch up quickly as he would normally do.
First you ruin Arrow for me, then you use a Flash.
That doesn't ruin Arrow. Anybody that's watched Arrow knows that doesn't even ruin
But you ruined the end of the season,
That's not the end of that's not the main part of the ending. If you friggin' watch it instead of
I can't! Because I can't afford cable!
And affording $20 for basic cable, you wouldn't have to worry about this.
I'm sorry, mister. Ooh, look at me. I have, this, I have. I'm sorry that I'm not going to expand.
And you have the internet. How have you not seen this already?
Because I don't believe in piracy.
I'm not talking about buying it piracy. I'm talking about actually seeing it on a post somewhere. Have you not? I live posted during these episodes. You were on the page. You had to see something. And if anybody that watches Arrow can go on our page and tell asshole over here that it is not ruined by me telling him that. Trust me, that is not the main arc.
Can I just say that I'm amused by how you've evolved, sir? And I feel fear for your child if he ever pisses you off.
I'm just saying, it is okay. That's one part that, yes, I did ruin. I'm sorry for that. You'll see it coming the first time she appears on the show, though.
Okay.
You will see this coming mid-season. Everybody knew this was going to happen. So when you get about, like episode 13-ish,
Okay.
you'll say, oh, I see where this is going, because we all saw where it was going. But trust me, there are plenty of other things to look forward to. There's plenty of other oh my god moments that you won't have to worry about because I won't ruin it.
Speaking of oh my god, we have some other big news from DC. Now that we know what The Rock
says.
Yes, The Rock does say, know your role, shut your mouth, take your ass to jabroni
right.
drive.
There you go. So, again, we saw this kind of coming, right? But
Yeah.
very clever reporter for Total Film was interviewing The Rock for Hercules, asked some pretty darn good questions and actually squeezed a little something out of The Rock there. And, of course, the rumor that we're kind of confirming at this point is that The Rock will be playing Shazam. Because he basically says in this interview, and we won't go through the entire quote because The Rock likes to talk.
Yes.
And we don't want to read the whole thing, but the end of it...
The People's Quote says...
The People's Quote actually says that this character has the power of Superman and can throw down. And then he pauses for a second. Gets that Dwayne Johnson, The Rock grin.
And it gives the people's eyebrow.
And he says, just say the word. That's all I'm going to say.
Shazam. So, I just would like it if, The Rock gives Superman the people's elbow in the middle of Metropolis.
That would be funny.
That'd be hilarious.
That would be really funny.
Because I like how, you've seen the rundown. In the beginning of the rundown, he's, in this club, and he has to get, this ring from this football player because he owes money. And he's, the enforcer. And he rock bottoms the guy. They snuck it in there.
Yes.
They're like, we gotta find a way for him to rock bottom somebody.
Thank you for putting that in. We appreciate that for those of us who are wrestling fans. Now, the reason we're saying Shazam instead of Black Adam, which was also the rumor that was going around, and of course Shazam...
Wait, let's say the word. That's...
Well, and Black Adam says Shazam too, but think about it. So he could be the main villain in the Shazam movie, which is rumored to be coming out in July of 2016. We'll probably find out later on this week, Comicon, that that's going to happen. Do we really think that The Rock's going to want to play second fiddle to somebody else playing Shazam?
No, but here's the thing, now that I think about it, though, and something that just came to me, it says he can throw down with Superman. So, Black Adam is going to be a bad guy? He's going to be one of the main villains?
Could Black Adam be a main villain in a Justice League movie? I guess maybe. I would pick other villains first.
Right.
Of course, you'd go Darkseid or Doomsday or something like that for a Justice League type movie first, but could Black Adam garner that kind of attention? Sure.
Well, Batman Begins started off with, I know it's Ra's al Ghul, but not a lot of people really, not only clamored for Ra's al Ghul, this is what people are now, and Scarecrow. They made...
Yeah, that's true.
So, you say that about Black Adam, it's like, hey...
But, if you're doing that for, a Shazam movie, I can understand it, but, it would have to be... He'd have to be a Justice League villain in order to throw down with Superman.
Right, and he even said, he's like, it's not... He said, the first thing he said, he was like, it's not Jon Stewart, it's not Green Lantern.
And you kind of understand why.
He's like, they already did a Green Lantern movie...
Yeah.
And it was a torrential flop.
Well, you gotta feel sorry for the guy that's gonna play Green Lantern next.
I know.
Whether it's Jon Stewart or Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner, any other version of the Green Lantern that they're gonna do.
Yep.
Even Guy Gardner. It doesn't matter which version of the Green Lantern you pick. You gotta feel sorry for that guy.
It's like you have low expectations because nobody expects anything big. But then it's like high expectations because it's just such a monumental failure. Anything less than another hacky Green Lantern is just really?
And it sucks for DC too because you can't do a Justice League movie without Green Lantern.
No, you can't.
You can't. I don't care how many other characters you have. You can't leave out a Justice League member like Green Lantern. As much as we'd like to forget about Ryan Reynolds, you can't leave him out. So you're going to have to cast somebody at some point, and I agree with you. You can't go the Hal Jordan route now after all this stuff has gone down.
No,
you can't do it.
Yeah, I think my final say in this is that I think if they're going to go with a Green Lantern, they got to go Jon Stewart. They gotta.
Let's make that happen. And speaking of which, the indies have really started to make things happen. Things are cooking. We're going to talk about how the indies are striking back with our next main topic on Down and Nerdy.
A long time ago, in a comic book store far, far away, 2 comic book companies ruled the realms. One world, Marvel. The other, DC. Fighting a war amongst each other for many, many years. But a new threat has arisen. In this day and age, the indies strike back.
And we're not talking about da-da-da-da-da-da-da. No, we're not talking about We're talking about IDW, Image, Dark Horse, Dynamite, and they are all dynamite as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, so I mean, IDW, Archie, you said Valiant, Image, Oni Press, Abstract Studio. They are rising. They are, like I said, not a major part of the market, but they're, like, as far as, like, creative development and just TV and everything, they're starting to come along. They're starting to get that piece.
And I think that that's part of a good way to start it, is that we're not talking about comics anymore from them. They're expanding into TV and even, in some cases, features. We just talked about Lock and Key getting the feature treatment last week.
Yeah.
That's going to be coming. There's just a lot of exciting things coming from the indies, who before, if you weren't super into comics, you probably didn't know about these independent publishers, but they're really allowing creators to branch out, and I think that's what's making the difference.
Yeah, it's making a difference because it's like we're such a technology-driven world right now, and it's easy to get your content out there. And you mentioned this last night. We were talking about the episode itself, James, like how are we going to approach this? And you said, there are just times where you're reading Marvel or you're reading DC, and you're just like, I want something different. I'm tired of reading Superman. I want to read something maybe a little bit darker, or just something just different. Maybe, instead of reading about Superman, maybe I want to read about or not Preacher, but just like
Preacher's a good enough example, I think.
Read about Preacher or Winter World or Tomb Raider.
I just think that we'd be lying to ourselves if we ever said we were going to stop reading Batman and Superman and Spider-Man, stuff like that. You're always going to want to go with what you love the most, and that is what we love the most. Yeah. But at the same time, you can read a lot of Batman, because there's a lot of it. You can read a lot of Superman, Spider-Man, but then every now and then, it's just like with television, you're like, let me see what else is on.
It's like with food. It's like, your eyes digest a certain run or comic book publisher every week or every so often. My shelves are more stocked with Marvel comics mostly than DC.
And you're a Marvel guy, and that's
I'm a Marvel guy. But there's just times my eyes get full, like, oh, Marvel again.
Yeah. You look at your poll and you're
seriously,
wow.
I swear to God, there are times I look at my poll, I'm like, oh, Marvel again.
Well, let's look at the picture of my poll that I posted yesterday on
all DC, all Batman.
It was all DC. Well, Batman Day was yesterday, so I kind of understand why that happened. But I mean, there was a Winter World in there. I also had a Marvel title in there, and I'm putting more and more indie comics in my poll because, and I'll be honest, just getting back into comics in recent years, I have to go back now and find all this stuff. Now that I've talked to people like Drew Moss, that have opened my eyes to places like IDW.
Yeah, Drew, like I said, we've talked about the story many times.
Nancy Collins will throw her in there.
Nancy Collins will throw her in there too. But we've talked about the story many times. Drew was literally the first person at the first Taiwan Comicon we met. And he works at IDW, and we just asked him, like, what's it like working for an independent company as opposed to a DC and Marvel?
And what's the first thing he said?
Freedom. Creative freedom.
And that was the bottom line for me, and that's what really piqued my attention. Because, you see Ninja Turtles there, and you think to yourself, oh, so this is more mainstream than I thought. And you see stuff like Transformers, and then as you got to talking, Drew's like, you come in with an idea, and they're going to listen to you, and and you never know where it might go.
Yeah.
And they allow you to create.
Not just that, but from an artist standpoint, from a writer standpoint, like I said, Crow Pestilence, amazing series, like so great, great artwork. Of course, Drew works on it, but it's like there's just certain things I saw in Crow Pestilence where I'm like, okay, if this was like maybe a Vertigo or just like a DC or a Marvel title, I'm like, yeah, this maybe would not been the greatest because there are certain liberties they take with this because it's not independent that they can do more and expand more upon.
And I think that's what it is too, and I think that it affords them the ability to take more risks. too. And maybe that's not fair for the big guys. You know, maybe they can't take as many risks because of the publicity that would come back on them. But
again, I think it's also probably because of the comics authority kind of thing.
And there's that too. And I think that it's just it gives you more of an opportunity because they're not tied. Obviously, if you're DC, you've got to focus a lot of attention on Batman and a lot of attention on Superman. And I'm not saying that independents don't do the same thing with their certain properties, but you don't have too many independents except for maybe Walking Dead with Image,
right?
Where you look at them and say, okay, they've got to focus 75% of their energy on this, and it's sometimes to the detriment of other books.
Right.
You don't see that with places like Dark Horse, especially with them losing Star Wars to Marvel now.
Yeah.
You don't see that with places like Dark Horse with IDW. There's no, shining title that they have to focus on. It allows them to get all their resources and pull them towards all of their projects.
Right, and that's the thing is like you mentioned it, you just hit the nail on the head. They have all these smaller properties, like a bigger name like Transformers and TMNT. But they can expand upon it and say, okay, we can just do what we want and just, we don't have to. It's like Microsoft. They have Halo. All the resources are going into Halo.
Exactly.
But as far as original other content games, there's not much there. Whereas IDW say, okay, we got pieces here, pieces here, pieces here. We can just evenly spread the love around.
And the cool thing about these indie publishers, too, is they're all over the map.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go from something like Winterworld or like Outcast or something like that, and then turn around and the same publisher has
Red
Adventure
Sonja.
Time or My Little Pony, which
Power Rangers,
which sells really well, by the way. I mean, and it's all on what you like. Hey, I'm not saying that to cut you down or anything. It's all on what you like because there's some weird stuff that I like too.
There's some weird pony shit in that internet.
But I mean, seriously, it allows them to do stuff like that. Whereas, like you said earlier, with DC and Marvel, it's all capes and heroes and yay kind of thing.
And it depends, like welcome to hell.
Exactly, and it's just you run the gauntlet of different ideas that you can do. Whereas if Marvel or DC tried to do something like that, a couple of idiots like us are going to sit up here and say, "Oh, that's a risky thing to do."
No,
kind of
well,
thing.
that, but also you're going to get the parents of like, my son, he read Spider-Man. Now, why isn't here? He's like at a strip club doing blow. Why?
Yeah, you can't really do that. So
that's not the Peter Parker I know.
And the thing is, and that maybe Marvel should take a couple notes looking at some of the indie guys is that how about they create their own characters? How about a book like Intersect that was announced by Image to kind of kick off Comicon? It's going to be by Ray Fox, who does Constantine and Pandora and some issues of Batman Eternal. That's a very cool concept that's going to be coming out from Image Comics, but it's a very dark and sinister world that couldn't exist probably in Marvel or DC. So it allows somebody like that who works for big name come in to branch out and do something a little different too.
Yeah, and we talked to a friend of ours and friend of mine, Riley Brown, who does Deadpool. And I asked him, I go, just after we talked to Drew about the whole freedom thing, I'm not saying Marvel doesn't give their guys freedom, but I asked him, what drew you to Deadpool? He's like, Marvel just told me to put me on it. They just came to me and said, hey, you're on Deadpool. And he's like, that's what it was. And I think it might go the same way too with like an indie people, but I think it's more of a thing of like, artist or whoever writer can come with somebody and say, hey, I got this idea and let's put this people together.
Here's the other thing too is that if you have Twitter, and Lord knows you probably do, if you look at some of the tweets from some of your major players in the comic industry like Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, people like that, even Riley Brown, people like that,
Ethan Van Sciver.
What are they reading?
Yeah,
I've seen tweets from major creators about a series, indie series Trees, that has gotten rave reviews from creators. These are their peers that are working for another company that are reading this and going, wow, this is something totally different, and they just love it. And books like Intersect could be like that. But
here's the thing, too, at the same time, though, the comic book industry, just because, say, for instance, dream job. I work for Marvel, you work for DC.
Okay.
Right? Just because we work for these companies doesn't mean that we can't read each other's work and enjoy each other's work.
Exactly.
It's like saying, I work at Burger King, but I can't go to McDonald's. You know, it's like that.
Right.
You're not limited to that.
The thing that you kind of get the impression once you hang around enough of these people, and we've had a good opportunity to be able to do that, is that it's a community.
Yeah.
It's not like a us versus you guys kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's very much a community. You got guys from all different companies that'll sit down, read each other's work, praise each other's work, because at the end of the day, they're all creators.
Yeah.
They're all artists.
And plus, the thing is, too, is a lot of the artists are freelance. A lot of the writers are freelance.
A lot of that, it's going a lot of that route now. And I think a lot of the reasons that some of your major, not just artists, but writers, too, are doing freelance now because they want that freedom to do other things. I mean, for example, you look at a guy like Grant Morrison, who's done a lot of work with Batman. He's going back to Boom Studios again.
Yeah.
Look at Gail Simone, who's going to be doing a run of One Shot for Vampirella. I mean, these are creators. I mean, Gail Simone was working on Batgirl. I've mentioned Ray Fox, who's working on Constantine, Pandora, Trinity of Sin. They're going the indie route because they want to stretch their creative legs and do something a little different. Just like we were saying earlier. You will always love what you love, but you still at some point want to do something a little different.
And not that, but you also, as a reader, you want, like I said before, you crave something different. And, I got some statistics here, and these statistics are from Diamond Comic Distributors Incorporated, which is literally the main source for anything.
They're the giant book that Bob shows us when we're trying to figure out what we want to pull out.
Yes. So, I'll start in 2003 and I'll work back in 2002, okay? I'll work my way backwards. So in 2003, which is, of course, last year, Marvel and DC, of course, topped out retail market shares at 33.5% and 30%, okay? So Marvel was 1, DC was 2. Dark Horse, 5.1%, IDW, 6.47%, and Image had 8%. They rounded up the top 5. The top comic in 2013, Walking Dead.
Yep.
Image Comics.
Number 1.
Now, here's the interesting thing in 2013. Everything else in the top 100, other than number 1 and number 44, which is also an
Jupiter's
Image Comics.
Legacy, I think that was.
Yep, which was Image Comics, was Marvel and DC. So out of the top 100 last year of comics sold, 2 were Image Comics, which were indie comics. Go back to 2002, same statistics-wise percentage, Image was at 6.3, Dark Horse 6.52, and now IDW was founded in 1999, right?
Yes.
Okay, so they were on the table then. Like, they were nowhere on that table. 1 year later, 2003, number 10th in the market.
Wow.
So that's the statistic I told you last time. Like, don't read my statistics. I want something to show you.
That's impressive.
1 year, IDW went from we're not on the list anywhere to, it was like one of the, it was like, because the way Diamond has their things up, it's like, okay, here's these names, and there's all these non-major comics, and it's just one group. So we went from that group to our own group in 10th.
That's crazy. And I think that this bears repeating, too, that issue number 115 of The Walking Dead was the number 1 selling comic last year. It sold over 329,000 units.
Yeah.
That's a lot of books, man. And if you look at the trade paperbacks for 2013, Image had the top 6 of 2013 for trades. Saga and Walking Dead were the two.
I'm reading Saga, and I love it.
Number 1, and even Boom Studios had success with Adventure Time as well. I mean, go back to June of 2014, and number 11 on the list for top-selling books was Outcast, first issue of Outcast, by Image. Saga was number 19.
Now, here's the thing. Now, here's the interesting thing. The top comic in 2002 was Marvel Ultimates number 1. About 14 of the top 100 were independent, and people say, well, it's not much of a big, deal. How can you say they're coming back when they were once had 14 in the top 100, but now they only had 2? Well, here's the reason why. This was right around when the Marvel Cinematic Universe was starting to happen. Same thing with DC. So it's kind of like IDW and these independents don't have the cinematic universe these guys do. So when you have the Batman, the Dark Knight trilogy, and you have the Spider-Mans and the Iron Mans, the Avengers, you're going to pump out more comics and people get more read more because it's going to build to the cinematic universe. So that's why the independents dropped off in the top 100. But as you just mentioned, they're making their way back because they're number ones like almost every month.
Not only that, but you also have to consider that DC launched the New 52 not too long ago.
Yep.
Marvel has flooded the marketplace with #1 issues over the last few months.
Storm #1 came out yesterday.
I mean, Iron Patriot, Silver Surfer, Daredevil, Ghost Rider, Black Widow. I mean, Moon Knight. It goes on and on and on. People are going to pick up #1s.
Yeah.
Just to try it out. Hell, we do that.
Yeah.
So you're going to, these statistics for especially the recent ones are a little swayed because you've got #1 issues by major publishers flooding the marketplace.
And the thing is, like, I last week I was at Bob's and I'm like, I gotta pick up an independent comic. I want to see what they got, and I saw Spawn. I'm like, oh, I want to get Spawn, but I was all right, but. Right, issue number 252. I'm like, it's way too far.
And that's difficult.
And it's difficult. And that's the thing with a lot of the independents. It's not their fault, but it's just a lot of the independents. They're on issue number 6, issue number 15, issue number 200 something. So it's tough.
And we know they're trades, but it's hard to catch up when you're 250 something issues.
I just I even said like with Preacher, like I picked it up and I looked like, okay, how many? Like, it's a thick book, but I'm like, how many pages are? Oh my God, there's 325 pages.
Not only that, I mean, if you can't afford cable, you can't afford to buy 10 trades for friggin' Spawn and catch up and get to. Not to mention what that would take you a year of your life to read.
And imagine Preacher, I only have book 1. So that's like probably another 300.
Well, at least that one you could probably catch up a little quicker because there was 66 issues, right?
Right, but what I'm saying is that's like 600 pages.
That's a lot,
man. That's a lot.
We have lives. We have jobs.
You're gonna have a kid.
We need sleep at some point. So I can understand that you know, it's a hard time to catch up. But I mean, there are some good ones that are coming out. I mentioned Outcast. I mentioned Trees. All the stuff that we're finding out at Comicon. Image Comics they had 12 new presentations yesterday. IDW's 5 so far. I think they've got another Transformers book that's going to be coming out from IDW. We'll get to all this in our Comic-Con episode next week. But what I'm saying is there will be opportunities for certain books that you can go out there and grab. And do not discount these indie comics, because I can tell you that the art is still good. I mean, look at Greg Capullo. Did not just start out on Batman. I'm getting ready to start reading Haunt, which is an independent series. Greg Capullo did the art for Haunt.
Yeah.
So he's, the Batman god now of art, but, I mean, this was something that he did before, and I'm sure there's other things that he's going to do to stretch his legs, not just draw Batman for the rest of his life.
All right, so here's the thing. Here's some hypotheticals here. Where do you see independent comics 5 years from now? I mean, movies, television, comic sales, whatever. I
think that you have to factor in the success of any feature films, television series, even web series that may come about from, say, the Winter Worlds, the Lock and Keys of the world.
Yep.
I think that you'll see a lot more of that, and I think that right now the gap is 36% Marvel, 31% DC.
Right.
Now think about that. You're #1 with 36% of sales.
Yeah.
So think
not
about
50, not 60.
You're not blowing them out of the water right now. I mean, Image
not
was sitting
40.
at 11%. I don't want to go too far here. In 5 years, I see a much tighter race for second place.
Okay.
I think somebody's still going to distinguish themselves, whether it's Marvel or DC.
I think
you're going to have that one guy at the top, but I think somebody like Image or IDW, and Image, a lot of this is Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So that's why they're at 11%. Walking Dead and it being as popular as it is, and Walking Dead might not be around in 5 years.
Yeah.
It might end its run. I'm not sure that's a show that's going to go 10 seasons deep. So, I mean, where do you go from there?
Right.
So they just happen to catch lightning in a bottle. Where do they go from there? So I think that with the creative directions going now with some of these newer books and some of these bigger names that are going, at least for a run, over to independent studios, I think that you're going to see at least one indie publisher crack the 20% mark.
Here's what I think you're going to see. 5 years from now, there's going to be a much tighter race, like you said, for second place. But I think I can see Image at 20% of the market share. I can see them do that. Here's why. As I mentioned, I read over and over again. I read Saga. Saga is quickly turning into, like you mentioned, like what happens if Walking Dead's on? Saga's going to take over.
Well, they'll be okay with Saga.
Because Saga,
no question
if
about
Walking
that.
Dead leaves, Saga will take over. And Saga is something you can take and make a series out of.
Definitely, but to maintain that percentage and to raise it once Walking Dead goes away, you need to fill that gap.
Right.
So they need to find that next creative project. And maybe one of the ones they've announced today is that.
But here's the thing, is that we mentioned earlier in the segment that, hey, we're seeing these guys and these women from these big companies going to these independent companies. That's what's going to help, because you're going to have these big ideas on these companies, on these IDWs, these dark horses, these things from these people who are gods in the DC Marvel universe.
And what does it tell you? That these people would take their time to go to an independent and say, hey, why don't we do this together?
Yeah.
I mean, that says something. This is not just come on, this isn't just about money.
No.
Because you really think that Grant Morrison's getting more money at Boom than he did when he was working for DC? Or do you really think Gail Simone, they're backing the Brinks truck up for her to do an issue of Fairy Tales? I don't think so. They're doing this because, A, they believe in the project.
Yep.
Or they believe in an idea that they have or that was pitched to them.
Yeah.
Think about that. So they're not bound to the paycheck. These are creators that want to create. Everybody wants to make money.
Yeah.
I'm not an idiot. Everybody wants to make money. But these are creators that want to create, whether it's artists, writers, whatever. They have these ideas or they have other things that they find interesting, and they're going to grab it, and they're going to independents to do it.
Yeah, like I said, the way that independents are going today, it's very promising, because, as a kid, I didn't read a lot. I read comic books, but it was mostly Marvel and DC and stuff, big stuff. Not really independent. The only independent comic I had when I was a little kid was 007, James Bond.
And there weren't many options,
no,
honestly.
So I look at this, I look at them now, and I'm like, I read a lot of Goosebumps and Animorphs, stuff like that. But I'm like, TV, like, where do I see it? Like, the web, it's free. You pay for internet, but still, Machinima,
right, it's still free.
Well, Machinima has such a great success with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat.
Right.
So, yeah, hey, let's team up with IDW or Boom or Valiant.
Yeah.
Or Valiant and say, hey, let's do a web series on something.
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's the wave of the future, man. I mean, that's
one
where
thing
we're
I
going.
wish they would do. Okay, this isn't a comic really, but it's an anime. I wish that they would, if you're going to do a web series, do an Akira web series.
Okay, well,
instead of a movie.
We had the fan film for that when we were talking about fan film, so expand on that and do. I could see that. Yeah,
but I'm saying, like, in terms of also manga as well.
Yeah.
Like,
you can definitely branch out through there.
You can branch out through there and make. That's what I'm saying. Because I said, any comics, it's not just like IDW. It's the mangas. It's the animes.
I think with manga though is that it's starting to catch up here. Manga's always been very popular in Japan.
Yeah.
Definitely still more popular there. It's like soccer.
Yeah.
Soccer's not so popular here. It's great. People in Europe kill each other over it. But it's not as popular here now. It's getting there here, and I think manga is the soccer of the print world in America.
Yeah.
And that it's gaining popularity here, and there will be a time where it's time to capitalize on that.
And speaking of time, it is that time we must come to the sadness of a close in this week's episode.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yep, but hey, just because this episode is done doesn't mean that we're going to stop posting stuff for San Diego Comicon.
Keep on our page. We got a lot of stuff coming.
Follow us, Facebook.com/DownNerdy. On Twitter, @DownNerdy757. I'm on Twitter, @NickBattaglia25. James.
I'm @JamesAceWith'em. Don't forget, you can email us too, downandnerdypodcast@gmail.com, because eventually we'll have our fan questions episode.
Eventually. But no, again, thanks to the cosplayers who are just make our lives so much happier by just knowing that, hey, thank you, and it's more of us saying thank you to you for spending the money you do and putting the costumes together. Thanks to everybody who's listening to the show. Thank you everybody I've gotten messages from people who saying, hey, I'm going to be coming to Comicon, Tower Comicon, just to see you guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is pretty awesome. And, to all of our fans around the world, because we are a global podcast.
6 continents, baby.
6 continents. That Shaq in Antarctica, man, we gotta do something about that. We gotta do something about that.
Yeah, we're gonna find him. I mean, I'm thinking carrier pigeon right now, if he can make it.
Carrier pigeon, sled dog, whatever. We'll find a way.
We'll get him a nice coat via Winter World or something.
Yep.
We'll have a carrier pigeon in Winter World cosplay.
Yes!
Headed towards Antarctica.
But as I close the show with this, I will always say, from here to eternity, always practice safe comic book reading. Bag and board your comics.